Let's start with that guidance, Mark, which implies top-line acceleration in the second half. What gives you guys, Mark, the confidence to make that forecast?
Well, as we said last night, first, as you know, a majority of our revenue now is recurring in nature. So we've got pretty good visibility as we go forward, and we had a very strong bookings quarter in addition to it. In fact, I'd say, Josh, in applications, it was the strongest quarter in many respects we've really ever had, in the context of just not only our gross bookings, but without getting too technical about it, as you look at things that fall off, being customers that run off their contract, the net bookings was the strongest we've ever had in our history, except for one of our Q4s. And so the combination of that plus the recurring nature of our revenue gives us very strong confidence in the accelerating nature of our revenue performance.
And Mark, you mentioned, I just want to drill into applications there, which you mentioned really led the quarter, as you just said, strongest ever. And digging specifically into ERP there, and the opportunity you see there, Mark, that came out a lot on the call last night. So software that's used by companies to manage financials, their broader business. You do have competition there, though, you know, Workday, SAP. How do you feel you're stacked up against some of those rivals right now?
Well, we think we're way ahead would be an understatement as it relates to SaaS ERP. So just to give you some context and maybe the listeners, the applications market is about $125 billion. About two-thirds of that is in the back office, what you defined as ERP and HR, and about a third of that is front office. That market, it's funny, as it moves from the traditional older legacy on-premise to SaaS, the market actually grows. It gets bigger because all of the servers and storage and other software that's involved in it actually moves into the applications market and away from the infrastructure market. So that market's actually going to get substantively bigger. And in SaaS ERP, which you asked about, we are by every dimension, whether you look at an analyst report or just sheer numbers of customers, bookings, I mean, we're far and away the leader in that market. And all of our growth rates, and whether they be in NetSuite or Fusion ERP or any of our applications, were really as good as we've seen it, Josh. It's very exciting for us.
And Mark, just take it back here, maybe a broader question. You know, as Morgan pointed out here, you're off the highs, and maybe some investors still have questions just about top line growth, because at the end of the day, you guys are still calling for single-digit revenue growth in fiscal 19. I think it's 3% constant currency. So maybe just walk us through and the street through how you're going to grow this company meaningfully, top-line growth in the quarters ahead, and how you grow that cloud business more strongly too.
Right. Well, it's interesting, Josh, because as you know, that's how the company adds up, but nothing in the company actually grows at the rates we report in totality. We have these, I mean, just to give you an example, our Fusion applications revenue grew 34% in the quarter. Fusion ERP, you asked about, grew 44% in the quarter. NetSuite grew 25% in the quarter. Our vertical GBUs grew 35% in the quarter. None of those numbers sound like three. So what you have is a bunch of numbers that are growing really, really fast, and then businesses that we're moving out of actually in decline. And the average is the three. As the businesses that are growing become a bigger percent of the total, that's why you see the revenue acceleration that you see as you go through the year. So it's really a story of mix. And what we've done is we decided several years ago, Josh, as you know, that the best thing for us to do was to reinvent ourselves and not let somebody reinvent us on their agenda. So we've really done everything to go towards, if you will, using the hockey example, where the puck is going as opposed to where it's been. And that's been what we've done over the past several years, is reinvest in R&D, reinvest in sales. And that's why you see this undisputed leadership in SaaS ERP and some of these other examples that we talked about a couple minutes ago.
And let's also want to touch on this database, the business, Mark. Larry Ellison said on the call last night, listen, there's no way somebody, he said, is going to move from Oracle to Amazon. But we know Amazon's Andy Jassy, it says they're doing it. Is that a test case? If Amazon does it, do others follow, you think?
Well, listen, I mean, again, Larry, of course, was very timid in his comments. And of course, I'm being sarcastic last night. But I think the point he was trying to make is the technical differentiation of the product is extreme. If somebody who does this for a living spends years trying to do that work, you know, his point was, okay, they can't even do it, let alone somebody who's not doing that as their life's work, where they're only focused talking about it in the public every 15 minutes. So I think the fact of, are other people, you have to ask yourself the question, Josh, of why. And then, you know, the problem with trying to replace something like the Oracle database is there is just years and years of programming and capability and features that are available, not only the capabilities now with autonomous database. This release we've just made of our database, forget trying to replace something that's 10 years old. Let's talk about what's available now. This is really a self-driving database that patches itself. Some other time, Josh, we can go into what patching all means. But the fact that now security-wise, instead of waiting a year to get patches through, you can get them done immediately. Everything self-tunes, self-optimizes. You get materially more performance. This is just the game-changing database release, maybe the greatest release in the history of Oracle. So that's really, to your point, Josh, the thesis of the company is really this applications momentum that we've got in addition to the greatest database release in the history of Oracle.